Lucy, played once again with incredible comedic timing and limitless chaotic energy by Lucille Ball, accidentally turns what should have been a calm and ordinary day at the bank into a massive chain reaction of confusion after becoming obsessed with the idea of proving that she is far more talented and sophisticated than everyone believes. And the trouble begins when Lucy overhears part of a conversation involving an upcoming visitor connected to the bank, immediately assuming that this visitor is someone extremely important who must be impressed at all costs. And before anyone can properly explain the situation, Lucy has already convinced herself that she is uniquely qualified to help prepare for the occasion, speaking with such confidence that several employees reluctantly accept her involvement simply because stopping her seems harder than letting her continue. And from the very beginning, her approach is built entirely on assumptions as she starts reorganizing schedules, changing decorations, and giving dramatic instructions based on what she imagines a professional high-class presentation should look like rather than following any actual plan. And while Mary Jane quickly notices that Lucy has no idea what she's doing, she struggles to slow her down because Lucy is operating at full speed, darting around the office with unstoppable enthusiasm while insisting that every new idea she invents is exactly what the bank needs. And at first, the situation almost appears manageable because Lucy's confidence creates the illusion that there is some hidden strategy behind her actions. But little by little, the cracks begin appearing as employees receive conflicting instructions. Important supplies disappear into strange locations, and carefully organized schedules become hopelessly tangled under Lucy's constant revisions. Yet, instead of recognizing the growing disaster, Lucy interprets every new problem as proof that she simply needs to take even more control, pushing herself deeper into the chaos while remaining absolutely convinced she can still pull everything together at the last second. And this becomes the central comedic engine of the episode as Lucy rushes from one side of the bank to the other, trying to secretly repair mistakes before anyone notices them, hiding misplaced items, redirecting confused employees, and inventing increasingly ridiculous explanations whenever people question her decisions, all while desperately maintaining the appearance of calm professionalism even as total disorder spreads behind her. And the physical comedy escalates beautifully because Lucy's frantic improvisation keeps forcing her into absurd situations where she has to juggle multiple crises at once, often while trying to avoid Mr. Mooney, whose growing suspicion becomes funnier every time he narrowly misses discovering the full scale of what Lucy has done. And throughout the episode, there's a perfect contrast between Lucy's unstoppable optimism and the exhausted reactions of everyone around her. Because while the office slowly collapses into confusion, Lucy continues speaking as though she's orchestrating some brilliant masterpiece, proudly making promises she cannot possibly fulfill and improvising solutions that usually create even bigger problems seconds later. And eventually, the tension builds toward the arrival of the important visitor, the moment Lucy has been preparing for with increasing desperation. And by the time the visitor finally enters the bank, the entire place is balanced on the edge of disaster, with hidden mistakes waiting everywhere beneath Lucy's shaky performance of competence. And naturally, the arrival triggers an immediate avalanche of chaos as all the misunderstandings begin colliding at once. Employees appear in the wrong places, instructions contradict each other publicly, missing supplies suddenly become important, and Lucy finds herself sprinting through the office trying to prevent complete humiliation while simultaneously creating fresh disasters with every frantic attempt at damage control. And the climax turns into a whirlwind of perfectly timed comedic confusion where Lucy's desperate improvisations grow more and more absurd as she struggles to maintain control over a situation that has clearly become impossible, knocking things over, mixing people up, and delivering rapid-fire explanations so complicated that nobody can even follow her logic anymore, while Mr. Mooney slowly realizes that the entire catastrophe traces directly back to Lucy's decision to take over responsibilities she never fully understood in the first place. And when the truth finally comes out, there's a brief pause where Lucy recognizes just how badly everything has spiraled beyond her control. Though even then, she cannot completely admit defeat and immediately starts trying to explain how her ideas almost worked before tiny details ruined them, which only increases everyone's exhaustion because it becomes obvious Lucy still believes she was close to success despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, and yet underneath all the chaos there's still warmth because Lucy's intentions were sincere from the start. She genuinely wanted to help and impress people, even if her unstoppable confidence transformed a simple situation into absolute madness. And by the end of the episode, the bank slowly returns to normal while Mr. Mooney delivers another weary lecture about responsibility and staying within assigned duties. Though his frustration now feels mixed with resignation because deep down everyone understands Lucy is probably incapable of changing. And in the final moments, she appears reflective for approximately 5 seconds before suddenly becoming excited over another completely unrelated idea that she insists will definitely work this time, instantly horrifying everyone nearby and ending the episode on that classic, wonderfully chaotic note that perfectly defines the Lucy Show, where Lucy's endless confidence guarantees that no ordinary day can remain ordinary for very long. And even after the visitor finally leaves and the bank begins recovering from the chaos, Lucy somehow still refuses to believe the situation was a complete disaster because in her mind there were moments of brilliance hidden inside the catastrophe. And once that idea enters her head, she immediately becomes determined to prove it to everyone else, which unfortunately creates an entirely new wave of confusion just when people thought the nightmare was finally over. And instead of quietly returning to her normal duties, Lucy begins walking around the office enthusiastically pointing out tiny details she claims were successful parts of her plan, proudly explaining that the confusion during the event actually created energy and excitement, while the constant last-minute changes made everything feel more dynamic. Arguments so ridiculous that even she occasionally struggles to say them with a straight face. Though that never fully stops her because Lucy's confidence is practically indestructible once she commits to an idea. And Mary Jane watches this unfold with growing disbelief as Lucy starts speaking less like someone who barely survived a disaster and more like a misunderstood genius defending revolutionary ideas ahead of their time, which naturally horrifies everyone else because they realize Lucy may not have learned a single lesson from the entire experience. And those fears are immediately confirmed when Lucy decides the real reason things failed was that the office itself wasn't organized properly for her system, leading her to launch into another impulsive attempt to redesign parts of the bank so future events can supposedly run more smoothly. And before anybody can stop her, she's already dragging furniture across the floor, reorganizing desks, swapping supplies into different cabinets, and loudly directing confused employees as though she's running a military operation, while the staff desperately tries to continue basic banking activities around the chaos unfolding beside them. And the comedy during these scenes becomes wonderfully frantic because Lucy genuinely believes she is improving efficiency while every visible sign suggests the exact opposite. Customers become lost trying to find the correct counters, paperwork disappears into random locations, employees crash into newly moved furniture, and ordinary tasks suddenly take twice as long because nobody can figure out where anything is anymore. Yet Lucy keeps smiling proudly through all of it, confidently insisting that people simply need time to adjust to her superior system, and Mr. Mooney's reaction when he discovers the rearranged office becomes one of the funniest moments in the episode because he walks into the bank expecting normal operations and instead finds complete confusion everywhere, stopping dead in his tracks as he slowly looks around in stunned silence while Lucy excitedly explains the vision behind every disastrous change. And the longer she talks, the more exhausted he becomes because he realizes Lucy has somehow transformed one catastrophe into the beginning of another, without even pausing to recover from the first one. And naturally, the situation keeps escalating as Lucy attempts to demonstrate how smoothly her redesign works, only to accidentally trigger even more disasters in the process, knocking over stacks of paperwork, sending employees into each other, and misdirecting customers into completely wrong departments while trying to maintain the appearance of professional confidence, creating a rapid-fire sequence of physical comedy where she sprints from mistake to mistake, desperately attempting damage control while insisting that everything remains under perfect control. And what makes the scenes especially hilarious is that Lucy's confidence somehow survives every failure surrounding her, as if she physically cannot accept the possibility that her ideas are flawed. And eventually, the entire redesign reaches its breaking point when one final misunderstanding caused by Lucy's changes creates total chaos throughout. The bank forcing Mr. Mooney to abandon patients completely and demand that everything immediately be returned to normal before the entire office collapses under the weight of Lucy's improvements, and for one rare moment, Lucy actually seems genuinely embarrassed as she surveys the confusion surrounding her, realizing that perhaps she pushed things slightly too far, but even then she quickly shifts back into defensive optimism, insisting that history's greatest innovators were also misunderstood at first. A statement so absurdly dramatic that even Mary Jane bursts out laughing despite her exhaustion. And as employees slowly restore the office to its original condition, Lucy quietly helps clean up while continuing to mumble little suggestions about how her system could still work with a few adjustments, proving she still secretly believes she was right all along. And the episode closes perfectly when Lucy overhears another casual conversation nearby and instantly lights up with excitement over a completely new idea, causing everyone around her to freeze in visible panic because they know exactly what that expression means by now. Ending the story with the classic comforting reminder that no matter how many disasters Lucy creates, she will always bounce back with fresh confidence, ready to accidentally turn another ordinary day into complete beautiful chaos all over again.